Okay, so I have my screen up. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Just one sec. Okay, great. Let me just move this little sidebar to the side. All right, perfect. So first and foremost, I would like to thank everyone for joining this virtual event today. I'm very excited to get to speak with all of you and share my story and my experience, in the hopes that all of you, if not the majority of you, will be able to log off today having having taken away some helpful tips and best practices towards navigating both your academic and career journey. Um, Before I start, I think it's really important for me to be able to speak about, just a recent passion that I've discovered, specifically, being able to speak to students regarding the journey that is obtaining a full-time role after graduating, which I'm sure that many of us are faced with at the moment. There was a time very recently, I would say, within the last 6 months, that I myself didn't really understand the importance of my time here at Queens College and what an invaluable resource our school is towards helping us obtain full-time roles and internships. So, hopefully today I can help one of you start canvassing your journey towards achieving that. And then I'll get right into it. So I would like to introduce myself. My name is Genesis Santos, as you know, and I am actually a double major in corporate finance and economics with an expected graduation date of May 2023. My background comes specifically within senior leadership, especially within retail cosmetics. And a fun fact about myself is that I have a 2-year-old son named Jacob, who is, one of the biggest reasons why I've been so dedicated towards obtaining a full-time position after I graduate. But I would also like to discuss the reason why I decided to pursue a career in finance, because I know that sometimes it can be a little bit confusing in terms of like, what is it that you want to do? What do you want to focus on? So, having had for myself experience in a field related to finance, being an account executive for Estee Lauder companies, I was very much attracted and intrigued by the world of business. I was always really curious about how firms cooperated with one another, how did they work with each other, what was the impact that the firms had in our overall economy. And so even though I was in a branch of business being retail, I always wanted to go over to corporate finance. So I started my professional career actually as a freelancer selling perfumes in Macy's Queen Center Mall. And then from there, I just kept growing within retail very rapidly, transitioning from freelancer to business manager in Macy's Herald Square. And then ultimately, after getting promoted so many times, at the peak of my career, I became a senior account executive for Estee Lauder companies overseeing Tom Ford Beauty. So that's where I get the bulk of my experience. And that's been a very good foundation in terms of relating to a lot of the firms that I've had the opportunity to interview with. And there's a point in my story that I feel like I have to share because I identify it as a key point in getting me to where I am today. So you're probably wondering if, with that job, what happened? Well, in July of 2021, I lost my job as a consequence of COVID-19 and the volatile market that it had created. After losing my job, I was confident that I was going to find another one. If not, I could have put 100% assurance that I was going to find a job. I remember thinking, I give myself a couple of weeks and then I'm going to be back in the job market. Well, 198 rejection letters later, I counted them. I applied to 200 jobs after I lost my job in July of 2021, and I got 198 rejection letters. And, I didn't understand what happened. What was I doing wrong? And that's when, I made the decision after I understood how challenging it is to enter the finance space without having some sort of connection to finance. I decided to return to school and finish my undergraduate degree and focus and concentrate on corporate finance. And within my first 2 semesters as a transfer student in Queens College, I had a very different perception of finding a job versus my perception of finding a job now. At first, I was very much of the mindset of applying to jobs post graduation. It didn't occur to me that I had to do all this legwork before I graduated. And it wasn't until my first networking event during the summer session of 2022 with Truist that I realized what it was that I had to do. It was like a light bulb went off in my head. What was obvious for many of you, I'm sure, networking, we've all heard that you obtain 80% of jobs through networking. To me, I had no idea that networking was the key to it all, in addition to other important factors. And like truly networking, the Career Center at Queens College and other organizations, which I'll speak on a little bit later in my presentation, it changed my life and it allowed me to be able to obtain those job offers. So, with that being said, I would like to discuss just the true power of networking and how important it has been to my journey. So here you have, there's 3 steps that I've been able to kind of narrow it down based off of my experiences. All the information that I'm going to be presenting to you guys today comes 100% from my experiences, from my journeys, from my interactions within these events and speaking to, certain individuals in the finance industry. The step 1 for me when you are attending a networking event is to socialize and connect. It's really important for you to be able to identify who's attending these networking events, what firms are going to be attending that I want to speak to. Are you interested in working for Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Accenture? Do you want to go into tech? Do you want to go into consulting, advisory? Being able to identify those individuals beforehand and then socialize with them and connect with them. I think for me, that's been really important. And then, of course, once you are in front of this recruiter or this, significant individual, what do you do? And that's where I've identified that as the second step, which is your elevator pitch. And your elevator pitch is where you basically speak to the recruiter, and I like to keep it under a minute or a minute at most, where you tell them who you are, where you come from, what your experiences are, where do you see yourself working and why. And this elevator pitch is literally you're pitching yourself to this recruiter. You're letting them know, like, my name is Genesis Santos. This is where I've studied. This is where I get the bulk of my experience. This is where I've excelled at. This is why I'm interested in working for your company. This is the value I think I can bring to the company. And that's been really important for me. My elevator pitch, I think there's a lot of work that goes into understanding an elevator pitch and perfecting it. But that's the second step that I've narrowed it down that's I consider to be very important. And then step 3 is to close the deal. So by that, I mean, when you leave the networking event, you're not done. It's important to obtain everyone's LinkedIn whom you've connected with at that networking event and follow up with them afterwards. Make sure that, you didn't just leave an impression in the moment. Make sure that they understand after the event. I like to do it the next day so that it stays fresh in their mind, where you thank them for, the time that they spent talking to you. You share your gratitude towards any insights that they may have provided. And then ultimately you emphasize how passionate you are about the field that you discussed with them and how, intrigued and interested you are in applying for X role. That alone is one of the reasons why, I obtained the job offer that I decided to go with, which is with Truist. Being able to connect with every single person that I met with allowed me to leave an impression on them and for me to stay at their top of mind when applications opened up. So during the past summer session, when I attended the networking event with Truist at Queens College, thanks to Eleanor, thank you so much for sending me the flyer. Well, she sent it to, the majority of finance students. It's going to be the firm that I decided to join post-graduation. And I wasn't sure if anything was going to come out of that event. I knew that it was only an informational session, but I knew that the director of the wealth analyst full-time program and internship was going to be in attendance, in addition to current analysts that work for Truist And most importantly, my biggest connection was Charles Swarns, who's a Queens College alumni, and he is the current regional managing director for wealth here in their New York offices. So I knew that when I attended this event, it was open up to all Queens College students. It was an informational session where they were discussing. First of all, I don't know about you guys, I never heard of Truist before the informational session, but I got to learn a lot about the bank. It's the sixth largest bank in the United States, and they have incredible, incredible internships and full-time opportunities. And before I attended this event, I did a lot of work, not just before the event, but also during and after. I made sure to research the firm in its entirety, down to the quarterly sales report that came out actually right around the time of the event. And I made sure to ask strong questions during the event and to show how interested I was and how eager I was to learn more about the firm. And I think most importantly, being able to connect with those key individuals allowed me to follow up with them on LinkedIn and, not only thanking them for their time, but also speaking with those that attended and reiterating how interested I was in the full-time role. And lo and behold, when I hadn't heard from anybody for like a couple of months. I didn't think anything of it. And when it came time to apply a few months later, the director of the program, she messaged me personally on LinkedIn, letting me know that the link was actually open to applications. And after this event, like I said, a light bulb went off in my head, but I didn't want to put all my eggs in one basket. I became addicted to attending networking events. And that's how I came across Alpha, which is, I could do a whole presentation on Alpha and what an incredible organization that is. But also I joined Forte. And of course, the Queens College Career Center has been all invaluable networking channels. And that's what I want to speak to you all about, because again, if there is one factor, if there's one thing you all can take away from this, is the importance that I want to place on networking. So specifically for networking, I decided to pursue three different channels, one of them being Alpha, which is the Association of Latino Professionals for America. Just a disclosure, you do not have to be Latino to join. It's open and inclusive to all diverse cultures and ethnicities. And I also became a part of Forte, which is a female-led organization to build women towards establishing a stronger presence in the business and finance industry, an incredible organization as well. And then, of course, the Queens College Career Center has been, again, incredibly invaluable, and not just, providing a lot of networking opportunities, but also providing mentorship, sponsorship. Those two things are like very different, but very important. Providing job and internship posts, communicating all of that information, providing support around your resume, your cover letter, and the preparation that goes into that, your LinkedIn preparation, because that's incredibly important, and of course, your interview preparation. I think, having the vast pool of resources that these organizations individually has, being able to tap into that pool to all of those different resources is something that we're incredibly lucky to have, because once the door closes on your education, you're not able to tap into those resources. You're going to have to find new ones, and that can be a little bit challenging. Something that I would like to add also, if you don't have a higher QC profile, which is Queens College, it's like our personalized LinkedIn that's tailored to us as Queens College students, I recommend doing one right away, because it serves as a way for you to make a career profile, get notified of all of the networking events that are happening, sign up for the events that are happening, and apply directly to internships and job opportunities. That's something as well that has really helped me understand the dynamic of it all. And these organizations, they served as pivotal factors towards obtaining 3 out of the 4 job offers I received, because networking is one branch of it, But then in between your networking events, there's all this other work that I feel like students have to do. It's a full-time job on its own. And, time management has been something that I've leveraged successfully. And, speaking on between the networking events, there's a lot of preparing and applying that goes into it. Networking is not enough. You also have to apply directly to jobs. Even though, 80% of jobs do come from networking, you still have to tap into that 20% that happens when you're applying through a computer screen, through your computer at home, whatever the case may be. And I broke it down into three pivotal factors that I've been able to identify based on my experience that has allowed me to obtain not just interviews, but of course, full-time offers post-graduation. Your step one, your resume and your cover letter. You know, I think a lot of us know that your resume and your cover letter, at least I found that out 198 rejection letters later, there's an applicant tracking system. It's a wonderful applicant tracking system that does its due diligence in canvassing your resume and identifying passive words versus active words and doing its best to basically pull out the resumes from the thousands of applicants that are most preferable for the job description or the job that you apply for. So it's important to make sure that your resume is worded and structured correctly. Not having a passive voice is incredibly important, only active. Making sure that you have strong verbs at the front of each bullet point. Making sure that you try to quantify your bullet points as much as possible. The way that I tailored my resume with the help of Eleanor, I was actually able to schedule an appointment through the Navigate app, which we all have access to, make an appointment with Eleanor and work on my resume together. She also sent out some incredible links that are available that can help you kind of narrow down or gain inspiration based off of job descriptions or keywords that you can use in your resume. Those have been indispensable resources. So grateful for that, Eleanor, as well. I also followed the XYZ method on my resume because all of this is like a formula. We're all good at math, especially if we're majoring in finance. It's an algorithm and it's a formula. The way that the companies and the recruiters structure their process, it's a formula, which means that all of us can do it if we just have all the right pieces of the formula and execute it successfully. So I followed the XYZ method. I decided to do a lot of research surrounding what a successful resume looks like. And one of the most astounding and profound tips that I was able to find was the XYZ method, which basically means, each bullet point needs to follow the XYZ method. You accomplished X by doing Y, leading and resulting in Z. And typically that Z has to, preferably, if you can, be quantified. Percentages, numbers. The applicant tracking system loves to see that. And that's something that I was able to follow. And aside from the networking events, I was able to receive interviews as well with top firms just by applying. And I think it has a lot to do with, of course, how my resume was tailored. Of course, proofread your resume, set up an appointment on Navigate with the Career Center to work on your resume. Utilize online tools that are available for you to get the best practices on a strong resume format. For me, it was TikTok, believe it or not. I got on the side of TikTok that was all about career coaches and resume writing, and that was really helpful for me. Just utilizing all the tools available for us that are free. You don't have to pay someone $600 to get your resume read as well. And then when it came to the second step, what I found, aside from networking, just applying to jobs from my computer, there's a lot of preliminary interview prep that goes on. You get sent like links, asking for a higher view video interview. There's preliminary assessments that a lot of companies like Morgan Stanley, they send you before you even get to meet with a human. You have to pass an IQ test after you apply for the job, in addition to submitting a higher view interview. So when it came to the preliminary interview process, the way that I tackled it was, preparing the most that I could, because that's what we have control of. We may not have control of what questions they could ask us. We may not have control of the individual that's going to interview us, but we do have control in terms of all the preparation that goes into preliminary and interview process as well. So, I did a lot of research on the kinds of behavioral questions that recruiters ask. I did research on finance related interview questions. I did research based on a lot of case studies that happen now in addition to behavioral interviews. All of my interviews have involved case studies, which involves some sort of technical application, whether it's through Excel or PowerPoint or a presentation. You have to go through a case study as well in order for you to get hired or even continue on in the interview process. And doing all this research and preparing myself, understanding what recruiters were looking for in terms of my responses. The questions are all basically the same. I could say that from all the firms that I've interviewed, they would ask the same questions, which means you can tackle it in a strategic way. And the way that I was able to identify that's the best way to answer is using the STAR method, which stands for situation, task, action, and reward. And no matter what question they ask you, which is typically formatted in the way, tell me about a time when you faced a difficult personality in your work environment, something like that. You respond by saying the situation. What was the situation? What did it look like? What was the task that you had in hand? What was the action that you took to handle that task? What was the reward? What was the outcome? What came from the action that you took? Answering literally every single question like that allowed the interviewer to understand, that I came prepared, that I felt confident in my answers. I had examples to take from my previous experience. And it doesn't matter if you don't have professional experience, if you have internships, which is incredible, if you've worked in retail, a bakery, a restaurant, what matters is how you can translate your skills into what they are looking for, into what's applicable for that specific job, requirement or job acquisition. That's been very helpful for me. In addition, I think it's important to remain unique and make sure your answers are non-redundant, because they're interviewing a ton of people and they can kind of hear the same answer. So if you can, in your own way, in your own unique and special way, put in something that makes you stand out, something that is special or unique to you, I feel like that's also helped me. It doesn't you don't have to sound like a robot. You can tailor it towards your life experiences, your academic experience, whatever that may look like. And have your story ready, be able to speak to your resume, know it like the back of your hand. Like I said, there's a lot of preparation that goes into finding and obtaining a full-time position and even an internship post-graduation. Be prepared to speak to your resume like if it's tattooed in your brain. Be able to speak to your resume in a natural way, be able to identify the key points in your resume when it comes to, interviewing with someone. And most importantly, I think really honing down on having your elevator pitch ready. I think that's really important. Even during the preliminary process, even when you have a higher view interview, they'll ask you, why do you think you're a good fit for this job? And that question is hard. You have less than 2 minutes to answer. So you have to make sure that your elevator pitch is, seamless. And I think, again, these are just my best practices. None of this comes from google.com. All of this information comes from the interviews that I've had within the last, and remember, all of this happened to me within the last 6 months, because this is what I started doing. I copied and pasted the same thing network event after network event, application after application, and the results were favorable. I'm very excited about all the different results that I was able to obtain. I received 4 job offers. Um, Two of the most difficult ones were to decide between, I think, was Truist and JP Morgan and Chase. I decided based off of my research that I'm very interested in working in wealth management. I know a lot of people try to go to investment banking, but remember my fun fact about my 2-year-old son. So I don't think the investment banking hours work for my schedule, but I think wealth management was a much better fit. In addition to what wealth management is, I was very much intrigued by that world. And Truist and JP Morgan, I was offered the wealth analyst position for Truist, which I've accepted. And I was also offered a financial advisor position with JP Morgan for their private bank. And, the culmination of all the steps that I've spoken about led to these job offers. And when it came to leveraging job offers, there were a lot of deciding factors, salary, where I was going to live. I was very keen on relocating. My husband and my son and I, like, we're very excited. I'm actually going to be relocating to Atlanta during the duration of my wealth analyst rotational program. You know, During the time that I was also leveraging all these different job offers, I requested additional time from the recruiters, which you can do yourself, to assess the job offers in more detail. And ultimately, aside from the financial aspect, because we all want to make money, finance is one of the most lucrative businesses that you can major and work in. I wanted to understand my career pipeline and what were my long-term goals. And it came down to deciding which firm would help me achieve this goal the best. And then I decided that that is Truist. And I also received 2 additional job offers from Bank of America within corporate, as a corporate audit analyst, and with American Express as a business analyst post graduation. And the reason why I put these 2 jobs together is because these 2 jobs I obtained as a result of attending the Alpha convention this past August, which changed my life. Alpha has changed my life. I speak about Alpha every day to whoever I can meet, just because I still can't believe that an organization that's this helpful, that's this supportive, that's so incredible exists. I talk about the Career Center to whoever I could talk to as well, because had it not been for the Career Center, had it not been for the support that I received from Eleanor and Zavi, I wouldn't have the job offers that I have today. So I talk about it with everyone. I attended this event last minute through the help of Alpha CEO Damian Rivera. I remember that the tickets were sold out, and I received very late notice from my employer 2 days before the convention began, actually, that I was approved to take off during the dates of the convention. And there's a point to my story, I promise. So I reached out to a lot of the administrative team that works for Alpha, just begging for an access pass. Like, could I please attend? I'm graduating, I'm a first semester senior. I really want to attend this convention. And this convention is hosted by Alpha once a year. It's always hosted in different states. This past year, it was in Orlando, and it's incredible. Over 100 firms attend, all looking to hire during the convention. The interview process happens during the convention. You get to network with vice presidents of different departments and regional managers and so many influential people, like at the tip of your fingers. They have a 2-day career fair that happens during the convention. It's absolutely incredible. So I knew that, I had to go. But unfortunately, everyone told me no, I couldn't attend the event. I couldn't attend the event. And that's when I reached out to the CEO, Damian Rivera, who is now a dear friend of mine, expressing my passion for networking and what my career aspirations were. And he actually helped me make it to the convention. The point to the story is, I attended the convention without having the advantages that the other students attending had. Typically you have to post your resume weeks in advance before attending the convention. so that the firms can review the resumes and they actually set up interviews with you if they're interested in your background during the convention. And then hopefully, fingers crossed, you leave the convention with job offers. I wasn't able to do that. But guess what? I had 50 copies of my resume printed out. I had my elevator pitch locked down, and I spent every waking hour of my time during that convention networking, connecting with people, connecting with recruiters, key leadership members. I identified which firms, because of course, speaking to 100 firms is very difficult to do in 4 days. So I identified which firms I wanted to work for, which firms aligned with my values and the kind of worker that I am. And I walked away from that convention with two job offers, one from Bank of America and one from American Express. And it's because of how I navigated my networking moments, connect, pitch yourself, close the deal, being able to do your research. You have to put the legwork in. It's a lot of legwork, I will say. Like, that's been one of the most challenging parts is, in addition to school, leveraging just how time consuming this whole process is. But, the result is a full-time offer before you even have your diploma in your hand. I made sure to grow my LinkedIn not client book, my LinkedIn network as much as I could, because I knew that I would be able to tap into those resources after the convention ended. And every person I spoke to, I made sure that they walked away knowing who I was, what I wanted to do, where I wanted to work, why I wanted to work there, and why I was a valuable candidate. And I think that I look at it as an algorithm because it is an algorithm, and it's an algorithm that all of us can achieve if we just set up each individual factor accordingly. And again, I'm really passionate about helping students. So like for this slide, I not only I put a cute quote, guys, a cute quote that came, I didn't put the author of the quote because I'm the author of the quote. And it's do what everybody else is not doing, and that will make you stand out from the rest. And I really do believe in that. Here's my email address because you guys can reach out to me if you have any questions, concerns, thoughts, any help. And I also put my LinkedIn code. So you can take your phones out and open up your LinkedIn and scan my QR code, and you can add me on LinkedIn because, again, we're here to build our LinkedIn book. And if I could be a resource to you in the future, like, you can 100% reach out to me. And you have to treat your time at Queens College like a business. We're all majoring in business. We all may want to be entrepreneurs. We're all going to be working for incredible firms. And your degree, your academic career is a business. You're the business owner. You've allocated time, effort, money, a lot of money, and all of these different resources to your education. And as a business owner, you want a return on your investment. You want that ROI to be incredible, to be valued higher than all of the resources that you've allocated to your business. And an internship and a full-time offer post-graduation, that is your return on investment. So don't just go through your classes and just check things off, in your degree works to get closer to graduation. The time to do the work is while you're in school. If I could start as a freshman again, I don't have any internship experience because I never understood the value of it. I would do things so much more differently. I don't know how many of us are seniors here, but it's not too late. Like, it's November. A lot of firms close their full-time offers and their full-time applications after January. So there's still so much time for you to attend networking events. Eleanor sends them out all the time in many different group chats. Join an organization, join a club. Don't let the doors close on your academic career and be left with the challenge of finding a job, because taking it from someone that's gotten rejection letters, it's incredibly difficult to overcome that and like be a champion and a cheerleader and like bring yourself back up. And we have everything we need to be successful daily at Queens College, from professors. Professor Mitchell, I saw you're here. Professor Mitchell is the best. He teaches Business 160W in addition to other courses, or maybe not. I don't know that. Don't maybe fact check me. But he's always leveraging and providing his students with amazing networking events and a lot of helpful, tips and best practices towards achieving full-time offers and navigating internships and navigating interviews and things like that. So you have all the resources you need. It's only up to you to, take control of it. And I think if there's anything that I wanted to, my message to come across, it would be that. I can't see anybody. I just see computer screens, but maybe I can stop sharing now.
Genesis, this was an amazing, I think, like an info session reality check. I almost cried from joy. I'm like, oh my
Eleanor.
God. Because this is exactly what I'm trying to tell the students, right? Some students think like, oh my God, we have career services, but I'm not getting a placement. But if you're not proactive and you don't take an initiative, there's only so much far you can go. It's up to the student, and there's only so much I can do. I can post to like how many groups, whatever time of the day or night, I'm doing that. But if students are not taking initiative or not being proactive, there's not much we can do, right? I have students who reach out to me. I can't get through. I'm not getting, well, have you, did you come to career service or did you schedule an appointment? Have you had someone look over your resume? So all of your tips and suggestions, that's what I'm, what I tell students, and to take advantage of. QC or CUNY system provides a wealth, like an unbelievable amount of resources to provide. And some students just go through 4 years of school, just want to be done. And I tell students, is if you have an offer that's waiting for you, great, amazing, rush through and go start that job. If not, some accounting students will just say, who come to me and I say, look, because the Big Four require you to work, if you have an internship require you to work full time, I said, look, you have to make the choice. But if there's any way you can somehow prolong a semester or maybe take like weekend courses or maybe summer course to catch up on that, that's great. But that internship will really help you, or some kind of experience will really help you, even, not only with a job later on, but even like decide, is this really what I want to do?
Right. And that's a big thing. A lot of students don't know what they want to do, especially me. I was so overwhelmed with what I wanted to study or where I wanted to focus in finance, because I don't have internship experience. And like finance, it's a very big world.
Right.
So definitely if students can do internships, that would be great.
Yeah.
And I think Professor Mitchell, you wanted to say something?
Yes, a fantastic job. I second Ms. Mavashev's comment regarding you. And also to just to share with the class without giving out too much details, like, for example, the name of the individual. However, I, as a former student of mine, received a job offer from a company in the finance space, and she happened to be dealing with a salary negotiation. And unfortunately, it's very sad, but it's part of the real world, where as a female, you don't really get paid what you're worth, and you have to really fight hard for that. I mean, of course, within bounds. So I had on my team, I spoke to a recruiter because she used me as a reference and everything and so forth. And I also had on my team another former student, Stephen Alexander, who's with Deloitte. And also yours truly, Ms. Genesis Santos. And we kind of, put together a plan and everything. And she was first offered at the very low end of the salary spectrum. Yesterday, she called me, Ms. Alexander, with the good news that they gave her the maximum end of the spectrum.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
Yeah. So again, so you have to really, it's not only about getting a job. You have to go through the salary negotiation. I'm bringing this up to say that Ms. Santos is not only preaching, but she's practicing what she preaches, right? And I put her to a test, and she definitely passed it. So as far as real life examples, so what she's telling you right now, is definitely the way to go. And of course, again, she's about action, not only about talk, and she really practiced what she's preaching here today in more ways than one, not only for herself, but for other people. So yeah, so those are my 2 cents. I'll see you tomorrow, and
Yes.
I guess you're gonna open the floor now for Q&A or comments from
Yes.
students.
Just want to mention before the questions start that I had nothing to do with the presentation. There was no sales pitch, or no, nothing. Genesis came up with this presentation herself, everything that she went through, everything that she thought would help you guys, what she went through, that's what she presented. So again, it's not like she's selling here career services. We're here to provide you with resources, right? We want you to be, when you graduate, it's like, okay, so I met so-and-so or whoever it is that you work with in career services, they help me with this. I remember that's how a resume should be done, or that's how you write a thank you letter or cover letter and so on. There's the services are done for you, offered to you for free. I had a couple of students who paid like over $200 to write their resumes. There's no need for that, guys. There's no need to pay such a big amount for resumes, especially in your early career, so to say. And then that resume that was written, when I asked a student, can you please, tell me what's on your resume, walk me through your resume, the student couldn't, because he didn't write it, and it wasn't even in his language. So, take advantage of all the resources that are available to you guys.
100%.
There were some questions in the chat. Do you guys want to unmute yourself and ask the question, or would you like me to read them? I think let's make it engaging. I would suggest to probably unmute and just ask your question.
I'm trying to read through also.
Let's see, maybe I can call on someone, right? So, Nicholas, you had a question, right? Do you want to ask the question?
Me? Yes. Okay. So I was wondering, so I graduated. I was a student of accounting and economics, graduated in the spring. So I was wondering how, if resources change once you've graduated and you've obtained a full-time position. But let's say, for instance, we're thinking of transferring to a new field or to a new company. Or, do the resources stay the same after you graduate versus when you're a student?
So I am not 100% sure about the Queens College resources after you graduate. Maybe Eleanor has a couple of details, to like some insight on that, but I will tell you, if you are not a part of Alpha, and I'm sure many organizations are structured like this, Alpha has, aside from their student chapter, they have a professional chapter where you can join the organization as a professional. And within your professional chapter, you connect with other professionals in many different firms and industries. You can build your network through there and attend the networking events that are available for the professionals within Alpha. So if you are working in audit, let's say, and you want to make it to a front office role and you want to be able to work as a wealth advisor, you can utilize the connections and the network that you can make as a professional in Alpha and leverage that and get there. So if you have time, like I would look into joining Alpha as a professional. You can also attend the yearly convention next year. It's going to be in August in El Paso, Texas. You can attend yourself, and as a professional, you can get hired there in another firm as well, if that's something that you would be interested in. And it's all in I'm going to try to find the website of Alpha right now and post it on the chat so that everybody can have it and like go on and look into those details.
Yeah. Usually we say students have about a year after they graduate to seek our services, but I have students who reached out to me who graduated in 2019 or 2020 that are still looking, or they want to switch their job or their career. So, we don't turn students away. And Alpha has been very amazing, and a lot of students, accounting, finance, economics, that attended that really went all the way, like took everything into consideration. A lot of students landed their full-time jobs from those conventions. Another question we had was, what if there is no active recruiting for an industry at the school you attend?
What if there isn't an active recruiting for the school you attend?
I would say there's
So-
always something going
right.
on. Even if it's not really particularly related to exactly what you want to go for, but I would suggest attend as many events as you can, meet the people, increase your network, right? And especially on LinkedIn, when you connect with them, you don't know who that person is connected. Eventually, one day you will see that connection on LinkedIn, and they'll post something. Take into consideration Alpha and take advantage of it. So in a good way, meaning like, if it's not Queens College, sometimes other CUNY schools like Baruch or Brooklyn College will be open to other CUNY members. I don't think they'll say no. So if you see something, you can definitely, like, I know Hunter colleges, students from Hunter College join some of our events. So whatever the recruiting events are, most of them, they're all for all CUNY students. And now with the new coalition with the New York CEO Job Council, right, where they came up with this coalition that about 30 companies are in that, where they want to recruit. Their goal is to recruit 25,000 CUNY students by 2030. So we have these companies now reaching out, Goldman Sachs, we really didn't have before. And not because we're such a bad school. No, the problem is actually with our students. We don't have students participating, right? Like, let's say for Truist, we only had like 15 students show up, and not many students, went further with the process, so to say, right? So we don't have students that are like Baruch. Some students say, like, what, why do companies go to Baruch? It's just, I don't know what it is, but students there are a little more proactive, and they're either hungry for career development and so on. So the problem that I face is that I don't have enough students. So I have employers reaching out sometimes on the last minute. Hey, do you have any resumes and your students that you can send over? And I'm like, scratching my head. I'm like, oh no, I need to get somebody, like, and then I'm reaching to you guys, and then it's nothing. Like, I don't hear anything. And then I have to and then when employer doesn't get a response from us,
they stop
turn
using you
away.
as a resource.
It's hard to bring them back, because now when they really wanted to hire our talent from Queens College and they didn't get that, so they just go to another colleges, and that's why they go to Baruch and Brooklyn and whichever CUNY colleges they can get more of. So I think it all depends from you guys too. I do, I don't know how many of you follow, like, connect with me on LinkedIn. If you're of any clubs that I'm on, like I'm almost in every group chat, like finance group and Alpha, Ascend, accounting club, and so on. So I post a lot of, in the events that we do that I put together, they're for you guys. I want you to be successful. This is what it all comes down to. I don't want you to graduate and say, hey, I'm clueless. I'm in square one. No, I don't want you to be in square one. I want you to do your research early on, and not wait until your senior year. You don't want to waste your time then, so to say. You want to spend your time wisely and start even from freshmen. Some organizations have great programs for freshman students, for sophomores. They have the student leadership, the spotlight leadership, and so on. So take advantage of them.
I agree 100%. Zeb, did you have a question as well? I see your hands up.
Yes, I do. First off, Genesis, thank you so much for taking the time and doing
You're
that.
welcome.
Like, we need more people like you over here in Queens College. So I'm definitely very appreciative, I'm sure, as are the other people here. I just had a couple questions. Obviously, I don't want to take everyone's time. First off, I know you mentioned, obviously, the internships, one important factor is just kind of helping you filter out which area of finance you think is for or not for you. In your case, obviously, you said, investment banking, a big factor was the hours, and you have a child, so that's, a big factor for you. So that kind of weaned that. Obviously, you're in or you're pursuing wealth management at this point. So what about wealth management like compelled you to like pursue that, area of finance?
I think for me, it's just how interesting it is. So wealth management there's different kinds of wealth management. There's wealth management branch where you can work with incredibly high net worth individuals and manage their wealth and their finances. And that touches almost every single point of the bank. With wealth management, as you're managing the wealth of those individuals, you're also working with the investment bankers and facilitating which investments are you going to be making for your client. If your client's net worth is $5 billion, you may have clients that are valued at that much. It's very common. You manage their assets. You manage their estate assets, you manage their investment portfolio, you manage every aspect of their finances. So you get to touch into all of the different aspects of the bank. I think for me, that's a big reason why I decided to pursue wealth management, is because I'm very intrigued in at least having some exposure to all those different fields. I also love the rotational programs that companies offer. They're like so common. Every bank offers rotational programs. And with the rotational programs, you get the exposure in the different fields of the bank. So as a wealth analyst, I'm going to be working in their investment banking, their wealth advisory team. I'm going to be working with their financial advisory team. I'm going to be working with their project management team. I'm going to work with trust and escrow and equities and risk management and almost every facet of the bank. And I think, if you're about to graduate or if you're a junior, doing a rotational program provides you with the exposure to the different fields of a bank that you may find interesting and will help you narrow down where it is that you want to work. So look into rotational programs. They're incredible.
Yeah, I definitely will. And if you don't mind, just one more question.
Yeah.
In regards to the networking itself, obviously that's very crucial. But did you tone in on any specific skills, like obviously meaning like hard skills that made you, more valuable on paper? Obviously, like, your networking abilities are very important as well. But at the end of the day, once you get past that point, you have, let's say, someone reviewing your resume or someone, interviewing you or whatever that might be. And then you have just certain skills that, will make you stand out. So I'm just curious if you had anything in particular that you kind of honed in on in regards to skills. And, obviously, I'm not sure how much like Excel you're doing in wealth management as opposed to like investment banking or things along that line.
You do a lot of Excel, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, if that or anything else that, you would like advise to someone to help them stand out a little.
Definitely Excel. Like, let me tell you something. Excel is, if you try to run away from it, you just don't work in finance, because Excel is the heart of finance. Everybody uses Excel. I didn't even know the first thing about Excel up until I started the semester, because I'm taking the computer science course. And in addition to that, I'm also doing a ton of LinkedIn courses with Excel. I've had to leverage the fact that I'm doing that right now so that in the future, I'll have that as one of my top hard skills. I've also talked a lot about, I think it's important to have, aside from your soft skills, to talk about what hard skills come from your relevant experience. So like for me, being in management and being in a field related to finance helped me. So for example, a big part of my job in Estee Lauder was client relationship management. That's everything that wealth advisors do. Wealth advisors handle a book of business, a book of clients. They leverage their, the relationships with these clients, nurture the relationships. And that's how they continue to build their book of business, grow their book of business, and being able to speak to that, even though it was cosmetics. I was talking about makeup. I used to work for Tom Ford Beauty. That has nothing to do with finance, but I talked about how my client relationship management is the key skill that I will be bringing in to Truist as a firm, which will make me stand out amongst other analysts. And I think being able to identify and connect those skills that are translatable, even though if they not may be directly applicable, as long as you can translate the skill, I think that that's the best thing that you can do. But definitely Excel. And then if you want to get into like fintech and things like that, Python, SQL. It's like all those coding programs are super important if you want to do like the technical fintech side of things, I would say, which is not for me. Maybe for you though.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much, Genesis. I really appreciate the time.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, anyone else? You can just jump on.
Yeah, there are two people. Hardeep, do you want to say your question?
Hey, how you doing? Thank you, Genesis, for providing such a great information.
You're welcome. Oh, Hardeep, I think you went back on mute. There we go. No, just kidding. You're still muted.
Okay, yeah. So you talk about the XYZ resume style, and you also
Yeah.
talked about the behavioral interview questions
Yeah.
and finance interview questions. So do you have any sort of specific like a website or source where I can go and actually look everything up and prepare myself?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to post my email again because there are a few and I don't have them in the top of my head. I have them bookmarked on my computer, but
Okay.
I'm going to post my email again so that you can reach out to me and I can send you all the links that I used when it comes to resume prep and what the XYZ method looks like. And if you have TikTok, I'll also share with you a lot of the career coaches that helped me understand how to format my resume. And I just put my email in the chat right now.
Great, wonderful. And
So I'll
just
send that over
more,
to you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll say one more question. And also, I'm trying to expand my network on LinkedIn, but I'm having a hard time like adding people. So I would add somebody and try to message them, but nobody would like connect. So do you have
That's
like any
hard.
sort of strategy that you use? Like, would I be able, like, should I add like random people, like, you know, with their at my school, or
that may
how would I
work.
do it?
You know, that may work. You may get out of 40 people that you add, maybe 1 or 2 will reply. I think if your schedule permits, if you can attend at least one networking event a month, you know, have your LinkedIn in your hand. And, you know, there's a quick QR code that you can use to just add the person onto your LinkedIn. I think attending the events in person is the best way because you lose the coldness of a computer screen or a phone screen. You know, you can't connect with people through your phone, but you can connect with them in person through a smile or your elevator pitch. And I think if your schedule permits, you know, try to make time. You know, as a full-time student, an employee, I also work part-time. And as a mom, I always go back on like one of the core foundations of economics, and that's your opportunity cost. I kind of like navigate my whole life like that. So I decided to prioritize networking events. So if I had to use a sick day at my job to attend a networking event, the opportunity cost and the return on investment that I know I would get from attending a networking event for me outweighed having to go to work. But that's me personally. You, it may be different, but if your schedule permits, I definitely say go to the networking events in person.
Even only in Queens College or outside also?
So there's outside events too. If you don't have higher QC, please create a profile because you can see all of the network events that the Career Center shares on there. A lot of them, I think there's one coming up with like Morgan Stanley. A lot of them are in the city where if Morgan Stanley is hosting it, you'll be in the Morgan Stanley corporate offices, and attending these events, you can meet like key people that can get you in these firms. So definitely through email, I'll also share a couple of resources to like figure out which network channels you can use to attend these events.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I emailed you right after.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I would also suggest, I also repost a lot. I'm connected to also a lot of recruiters, and I repost a lot. It's easier for me to repost on LinkedIn. If I see someone, I repost it. So you can always connect with me and you'll see everything that I post. And also just something that I want to mention, go back to what actually Genesis mentioned. I don't know if Genesis, if you're taking advantage of it, but LinkedIn, if you sign in using your QC mail, Qmail, the courses are offered for free. So a lot of them are that you have to pay per course, but if you use, if you log in with Qmail or QCmail, then it'll be free to you. So take advantage of that as well.
Yeah, if I may also interject in regarding Mr. Singh's question about the LinkedIn connections. The good way to go about them, I would argue, too, is to, as Ms. Santos talked about, in person. So my recommendation for that, of course, you have different venues, but one venue is to, if you don't have a business card as a student, which there's a possibility, go on vistaprint.com, or I'm sure Staples might have something similar. So you could go in person, but go on vistaprint.com and create a low-end business card yourself. Now, how do you go about that? Start by putting the Queens College logo on the card because you're a student. Put your name, your full name, email address, phone number, optional, your major, minor, if any, your concentration in your studies, also a website, a professional website, if you have any, also on the card. On the back of that's the front of the card. On the back of the card, get a QR code, which is also available on vistaprint.com, and again, Staples and other platforms, in-person platforms, venues would also have those too. Put a QR code on the back of your business card and link your LinkedIn profile or resume to that QR code. So when you attend, say, a conference or some platform, you don't have to really drag your resume with you. Just exchange your card with the person that you're interacting with after you give your elevator pitch. And again, emphasize exchange. Don't just give your card, try to get a card from them if you have an interest in that person. And then later on, you could follow up with that person via email and attach your resume. And again, they will have seen the QR code as pertaining to your LinkedIn information and so forth, and et cetera, where you could perhaps ask for an exploratory interview. And then by then you can generate as many. I have like about 1,000 connections on LinkedIn. And I've only requested about 2 or 3, and it's usually through that type of exchange, I would argue. So you can generate as many LinkedIn connections via that way. So I thought I would add that in. And upcoming events starting tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. You have the Queens College Business Breakfast. This opportunity for you, again, to interact and network. And also to, on December 7th, that's a Wednesday, the Queens College President's Office asked me to co-organize, I think it's the Edge Fund. I have to try to get more information on Park Avenue in Manhattan, where I'll be leading some students, mainly from the finance-based economics department, our BBA program, but other students are also invited, that's fine. I do recommend formal attire, including for tomorrow morning. And you may reach out to Ms. Santos. She's my current student, so she'll have that information. And she could direct you when I put the flyer out. That's for the 7th of December. It's going to be on a Wednesday at 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Yeah, and again, and this is an alum. She is on the board. She's also a chief, I think the chief CFO, if I'm not mistaken, and she wants to give back to Queens College. So again, most hedge funds, I would argue, they usually hire, like say, Ivy League students for the most part. So this is where you want to take advantage when you have a connection, a bond with someone who is a decision maker, and she is an alumna in her case. You want to take advantage of that for sure. So again, yeah. So speaking to Mr. Singh's question, yeah, you can definitely generate, as Ms. Santos stated earlier, by attending more of these conferences, and they may want to do the student card, as I call it, exchange. Unfortunately, usually PhD programs give student cards, not master's nor undergraduate programs. So you have to create your own, but it can be very cost effective if you're going for Vistaprint.
And also reaching out to recent alums. They're always willing to give back. They, if you want me to point you out to some, I can do that, off the record, because we're kind of going over time. I know some students have classes, but we'll take one more question from Jay. Jay?
Oh, hello. It was nice to meet everyone. Thank you for the presentations from Genesis. Sorry. My quick question is, I'm currently like a senior, but I currently don't have a major at the moment. I'm thinking about switching into finances because I do have experience within management, and I have 2 years of experience in management of like payroll management and a lot of Excel usage of project progress. So I was like thinking like which major I should go to, like I should go into for like project management or human resources.
100%. It's finance, corporate finance. There's every firm, every bank has a division of project management. I think it's one of the most important departments that they could have. And if that's something that, you have experience in and you've had exposure and you're interested in, I always say, your degree, you got to look at it as a business, right? So you want to go into fields that are lucrative. Please don't major in like art history or something, unless it's like a very big passion of yours. But if you even research the top lucrative fields, finance is one of the top ones. So definitely, and it's so applicable to everything. It's like the most applicable major that you can, graduate in, because you can apply it if you want to start your own business, if you want to work. Every company that exists has a finance department.
Correct.
Every company, every field. You want to go into marketing, finance is applicable. You want to go into education, finance is applicable. You want to work for a hospital, hospitals have finance departments. It is the most applicable major, in my opinion, that you can graduate in. So I definitely would go for it. And it's really fun major.
All right. So the major is called corporate finance, correct?
Yeah. So it's the business program. You have to get accepted into it, which you need a 3.0 GPA and 4 core courses, Econ 101, 102, Accounting 101, and 102. Once you get into the business program, you can officially declare corporate finance as your major. But before that, you can start doing economics because the majors are the same. The only difference is 1 or 2 classes. So I would start doing economics. I would make an appointment with an advisor on your Navigate app, and they can help you, major in economics up until you apply for the business program. That's what I would do. That's what I did. And then you can end up double majoring because they're the same.
All right. Thank you for the insight. I'll look more into it.
You're welcome. And you can email me if you have questions.
Yeah. That's what a lot of students do. They double major in economics and finance. But as I say, or as we say in the Career Center, your major doesn't define you. It's what you're going to make out of it. I mean, you can be double majoring, triple minoring, but if there's nothing, you're not being proactive and not doing anything with it, it's just, again, you'll be stuck. You'll be in square one. So again, it's how you're going to leverage it. What are you going to do about it? What are the skills? What are the skills you bring into the company? What are your soft skills? So it's like, do you have this customer service experience, skills, and so on? There's a whole list of it that they're looking for. By attending all the events that we provide, that's when you will kind of figure out, by listening to the employers, the recruiters, this is what they're looking for. So while I'm still in school, this is probably what I need to, hone my skills in.
All right, I see. Yeah, I do have experience with the STARS interviewing method because I was the recruiter processes for phase 1. So I do understand that part a little bit. And for the recording of the Zoom call, who do I email this for? Do I just email this to Eleanor?
I will send it to everyone as soon as I get recording that Zoom link that it was recorded. The recording is available. I will send to everyone that registered and attended the event.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.
You too.
I know we're cut off on time. I'll make it brief. I want to thank you for providing us like the nuances that you went through from top to bottom. What you provided, was that like a framework, like the PowerPoint, was that like framework they use as a to plan out your actions?
All of that none of that was taken from any source online. All of that came from, I sat down and I thought about what it was that I wanted to convey to everybody. And I just went through my entire journey step by step. I thought back to like how I felt, what I did, how I approached it. Like Eleanor said, it's a lot of work. Like, I think it's been the most challenging yet rewarding task that I've accomplished, but it's possible. Like if I believe if you navigate your career path that way, you're going to get results. Like, firmly believe it, because I went from being in La La Land and not really understanding how the world of finance works and like the importance of networking and all of that, to in 6 months, July 31st was my first networking event in Truist. And it's now November 16th. And I've interviewed with top firms. I have 4 job offers. And the only thing that I did was exactly what I put on my presentation, which I can share with everybody as well, if that's something that people would be interested in having.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think they'll be able to see it but yeah, everybody can email you.
Oh, right, in the recording.
At any point, did you ever go through burnout, and what did you do to like mitigate it?
Yeah, I think all the time. I also take 6 classes in addition to, my son is a 2-year-old. And being a mom, I'm a very present mom. My son is my motivation. Leveraging school and then leveraging also, getting some sort of income. You have to have a lot of talks with yourself. Like, I talk a lot, I have a village. I have people around me that I surround myself that I can reach out to and talk if I need to. I think that's really important. And being able to really map out your time, I think it's important. And just knowing when it's okay to take a step back. Like, there's been networking events I haven't gone to because I was so exhausted that I just tabled them aside. And then I just said, I'll go to the next one. Being able to understand your limits and accepting that and creating space for that, I think that's really important, and making time for yourself at least once a day to do something that can reset you for the week or take your mind off of everything that's working or not working. And listen, I have never felt as low in my career, academic and professionally, as when I got all of those rejection letters. And that's why I'm so passionate about helping people, is because I know how damaging that can be to like your mental health and like just your way of life. So I think it's about never giving up. Like, I don't give up. I don't accept no's. I don't accept failure. Like, I never stop. Like, I keep going. You have to just keep going. Just keep going. Every day you get up, just keep going, keep trying. As long as you're doing that, something will come of it, like, guarantee. But if you stop, then the only thing that you know for sure is that nothing is going to come of it. If you don't do anything, you can't expect an outcome. But if you keep trying, the fruits of your labor will come to fruition, as cliche as that may sound.
Right. Eventually they will. It takes some time, because I think students also get discouraged because they don't see the fast result, the end result. Like, well, I have done this, and I have students who reach out to me and say, well, I attended the event, or I reached out to someone and nothing came out of it. I'm like, it's relationship building. It takes time. So give it some time. It's unfortunately, some of us don't have time, but I think we just have to be patient.
And don't stop. Don't give up.
Stop. Yeah, don't give up.
Don't stop. Don't stop until you get a job offer. And if it's not the job offer you want, think about, at least, because originally I was thinking about doing audit, and audit was not my favorite thing. Accounting wasn't what I wanted to do. But if that would have been my only door into finance, I would have made the best of it, learned everything that I could have in that role with Bank of America, and found my way to where I ultimately wanted to be. So don't stop. Be open-minded. If you have in your head that you want to do investment banking and you have tunnel vision towards that, you're limiting yourself to other incredible opportunities in finance. So be open-minded, be very fluid, be very inquisitive, be very humble. Be okay with working in other areas in finance. Don't just stick with one, because there's so many incredible things that you can do, and it's all connected. You can end up where you want it to be 5 years from now, if that's the case.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Genesis. I really appreciate all your tips and suggestions.
Yes, thank
and
you,
as I listen to you, I'm like, oh my gosh, she is such a go-getter. As you said, you don't take no for some. And I want to speak back on what you said, is that you're like, you have a 2-year-old, running a household, taking 6 classes. Oh my God. I remember when I wanted to I have a master's in taxation, but at that time I was working as a career counselor at LIU, and then I'm like, wait, all my experiences are in higher education. What am I going to tell at the interview? I don't have, not as much accounting per se or anything related. So I was working full time, taking the master classes in the evenings, 2 little kids at home, and I'm like, okay, and working full time. I'm like, and it was summer. I'm like, I will apply to an internship and I will use my vacation days. So I worked 3 days at my current job, at the job that I had, and the 2 days vacation time I did internship at MTA. I'm like,
that's amazing. That's incredible. That's incredible. Everything is possible, but just my thing is, don't give up, don't stop. It's gonna happen for you. Just be organized, be strategic, and I think give it your all. Like, if you don't give it your all, then maybe
eventually will come back, and eventually your hard work will pay off.
Right, 100%.
Yeah, sounds great. All right, so I know we're completely out of time. Thank you so much for all the insight, tips, suggestions.
Thank you everyone for attending. I really appreciate it, and I hope I was able to help at least one of you, if not many of you. And you have my email. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. I will do my very best to make time for anyone that emails me. And I hope we can all stay connected.
Amazing. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Professor Mitchell, thank you for joining. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Professor Mitchell. See you tomorrow.